You touched on the independence. Something that I wanted to touch on with you, and you kind of referenced it there, but how important is it for you guys to retain your independence?
Yeah, I think that's what I talked about earlier, is that it's what this football program was built from. And as long as we can, we will. Right, and I have a lot of confidence in our administration and Pete Bavacqua, our AD, that he'll always keep us in a position to be successful. Mm-hmm. So as long as we can keep that independence, we will. But if there ever comes a time that we are at a disadvantage because we're not in a conference, I'm sure he'll make the decision, along with our president, to say, all right, we're going to join one of these conferences and position ourselves to not be negatively impacted by being independent.
So what is the biggest threat that you would see to that? Like where would a disadvantage pop up?
Well, I think if you talk about being at a disadvantage to make the postseason,
yeah,
right, because you're not in the playoffs, or if it comes a time where teams won't schedule you, right, because the Big Ten or the SEC are saying we're going to play 9 games and we'll play a crossover game, and who cares about Notre Dame? Well, then I think there's going to be a point where we may be forced to join a conference, but until that point happens, which it doesn't look likely, we're going to stay independent as long as we can.
Do you feel like independence fits with the future of the sport because of what you were referencing there and maybe crossover games and scheduling?
I can see it trending that way. I don't know when that time will come, but when you start adding in TV money, you start adding in scheduling, there's a lot of money involved with college football. And there might come a time where there might be an outside entity that takes college football away from the NCAA. I don't know, right? The future's uncertain, I say, but I could see a college football system where everybody's independent and somebody else is very similar to the NFL. Somebody else is scheduling the games when you play each other, and then all of a sudden it's not based off TV deals or with your conference anymore, right? And it'll be based off regional location and things like that.
And you guys made the announcement with Clemson, the 12-year agreement. I think, and I touched on it on the show. It's great. Of course, all of us want to see games like that. We'd love to see more games like that, not only involving Notre Dame, but other, big premium brands, 5-star programs throughout the country. Are there any other teams that you'd like to play every year?
I feel like you're trying to get at a certain team that's been buzzing. I mean, you think about rivalries, and I'm sure you can go back to when you played high school football or maybe even before that. I think back to my high school years, right? And I was from Ohio, but played at a high school named Huber Heights Wayne. Our big rival was Centerville Elks. The guys that have come from Centerville that you might know, A.J. Hawk, Kirk Herbstreit, Mike Nugent, some really great players, but that was a huge rivalry.
That was it.
Right? Then you go to Ohio State and you play Michigan every year.
Yep.
And the thing about rivalry games is nobody cares what the record is.
That's right.
You win that game, you view that season as a success.
And Michigan last year with Ohio State.
Amen. So for us, one of them that is continuously brought up here in the last month or so is the rivalry we have with USC. Before I ever got to Notre Dame, there's memories I have in my head of great plays in the USC Notre Dame rivalry. And I think it's important to continue that rivalry. And so if they ask my opinion, I want to continuously play USC every year, and it takes both parties to tangle, right? And it's got to fit both institutions. And, they're in a conference, we're not. When do we play? All those different things. But I think it's important that we continue to have this rivalry.
I'd be interested in, you go around, you cut your teeth at different places in college football. So you know what it's like to coach at different places. You obviously played at Ohio State. Everywhere else, you go and the goals list starts with a rival. Then it goes to, used to be a division, then a conference, and then you would get to a national championship. But every time I walk on this campus, it just strikes me as like there's really just one goal. So other than winning a national championship, what matters here that you can measure towards success?
I think some of those tangible goals of, how many games you win. It used to be just bowl victories and national championships. Yeah, those are all
Used to be
important.
that 10 mark was a big deal,
Yeah,
right? You
everybody
win
wants
10
double-digit
games.
wins, and that's goals for every program in the country, right? We know we don't play in a conference. Everybody wants to be a champion at the end of the season. If that's your only goal to view your job and your season as a success, then, man, there's a lot of people that look at their seasons as failures. And for me, we always talk about how do we reach our full potential, right? I think every program has a level that they call their full potential.
Sure.
Right? And how do we chase that? No matter victory, defeat, what the outcome of the last game was, we're continuously chasing that improvement to reach our full potential. Are you graduating? Right? I think we have the highest graduation rate right now in college football. Like, are you developing better young men to leave your program and be one day a great husband and a great father? And that's, for me, why I do it.
Yeah.
Right? It isn't to come in here and say, hey, won a national championship, coaching y'all. That's a result of a lot of different things. But to impact the young people you're around every day in a positive way and make them better because of the time they spent with you. When I think of the great coaches I've had in my life, that's what they've done.
Yeah, same. And the ones that would pour into you.
That's right.
Whether it was as a player, obviously, they're going to pour into you as a player, but as a human
That's right.
and as a man, there's no doubt. I'm interested, going back now 3 years. You had been here for a year, you get the job. And at that time, could you identify something that you wanted to add, and the way I would say it is that you needed to find, create, or develop to take the next step with Notre Dame football? And what was that thing?
I think we were at a really good position when I took over, right? What Coach Kelly had done for this program had been tremendous. And how do you elevate from that point we were at? For us, actually, for me, it actually took taking a dip. We lost the first game I coached, which was the bowl game. We lost the next game I coached, which was Ohio State. Then we lost the third game in a row, which was Marshall. And for me, it was almost you had to take a dip. You had to regress a little bit to understand what it takes to progress forward. And, you're always trying to improve talent. That's any company, any organization. Like, how do we continue to improve the talent and personnel that we bring in? That doesn't always mean athleticism. It always mean personalities and mental capacity. It's a lot of different things that go into increasing your talent. But the next thing was, how do we continue to develop the talent that we have? Right? We got to continue to increase the talent. We have to develop. We have to have a great plan to develop that talent in the present, right? But also in the future. Year one, month one, but also how do we improve them over 3 or 4 years? And then the third thing was, how do we continue to enhance our culture, right? And the culture is what they feel, what they believe every time they walk into that building, and what does that output? And those are things we spend constant amounts of time trying to continuously improve the talent, the development, and the culture.
It probably keeps you up at night at times, doesn't
Absolutely,
it?
absolutely.
I would be fascinated. We're sitting here now. You guys just made an incredible run in the college football playoff. You play for a national championship. What do you know now as the head coach of Notre Dame that you wish you could go back and tell that guy after the loss to Marshall?
Probably one very clear statement is the greatest things in life take time. And there is no such thing as instant gratification if you're talking about creating something great. You learn so much more from the losses, and you can't lose, right? You can't continuously lose or you're not going to have a job. But losing is a part of continuous growth. And nobody enjoys it, but there's a desperation I think every individual naturally has when they're in the dumps, when they've lost, where they feel embarrassed. And then I think I've done my most growing as a leader, have my most growth as a leader from some of those difficult losses. But just understanding, like, if you would have told me when I was hired as the head coach here, I would play in the national championship game by year 3, I'm kind of, heck yeah, that's awesome, man.
Here we go.
That's a good start. But if you would have said, hey, you would have 10 losses on your record before you did that, or 9 before you did that, whew, that's tough to really swallow. But that's what it took. And that's the experience that I've had to go through, we've had to go through as a program to put ourselves in a position we're in now. And now we got to continue to use those experiences from the past as the new foundation for the future.
Thank you for watching the Joel Klatt Show YouTube channel. And if you liked this clip, make sure to like it and subscribe to the channel, and you can stay up to date on all of my college football coverage.